Hello everyone, and welcome to the Killer Whale Ventures Livestream. Today is Friday, and we are going to be going through all of our top cryptos, risk management algorithms, did some updates to our gold algorithm because gold is breaking out today. If you would like access to any of our TradingView strategies, we're giving them away completely for free. All you have to do is send your TradingView username to our Discord support channel, links down below, and go ahead and give us a thumbs up and a subscribe to this video, and we'll go ahead and give you access to all of our TradingView strategies and indicators while we get this stream off the ground. We're really looking forward to having some community participation. This stream is going to be 100% community driven, so anybody who is interested in algorithmic trading, algorithmic risk management, and being able to trade while you sleep, manage your risk around the clock, this is the channel for you. So let's go ahead and get started today. And we're going to start off with Bitcoin as per usual. So today we saw a minus 2.3% slide here on Bitcoin. We still remain firmly in our bullish control zone. However, we have rejected off of our 10 moving average here. So you can see we do have a downward slope and downward angle on our 10 and our 20 moving average. So that's going to keep us with a little bit of pressure on the bearish side. However, we are still fully in control of the bull side with our bullish control zone. We did see a bounce off of our bullish control zone line in the sand on Friday, November 21st, and ever since then we've kind of been consolidating to the upside, and as I will be pointing out here in just a moment, here we go, let's go ahead and switch views on this. So if we go on a little bit more of a technical aspect on Bitcoin, we did form this downward sloping bear pole and bear flag, and it looks like we might be attempting to break out to the downside of this bear flag here. Let me go ahead and shorten this up here. So as we know from previous streams, we did kind of invalidate this descending broadening formation. We had a breakout attempt on October 1st, and that brought us up to our first target. However, we saw almost an immediate rejection on October 10th with that big landslide move hitting our stop loss down here. Ever since then, we've kind of been in a bearish continuation pattern here, and we did just form an ascending triangle. So ascending patterns typically are bearish in nature, and descending patterns are typically bullish in nature. So we haven't quite broken out of the descending bear flag that we're in here with the ascending triangle, but we're going to keep a really close eye on this as we move forward here. Targets on this one would be around 8,400, or I'm sorry, 84,000, and then down to 80,500, and then even further down we had measured yesterday from the bear, the size of the pole down here all the way to about 65,000. So we'll see if we can continue to stay within our bullish control zone here. And I'm just going to go ahead and turn our algorithm back on right here. Yep, so as you can see, even though we are in a bear pole, bear flag kind of pattern, we have continued to stay within our bullish control zone. So we'll see how that develops. Our absolute line in the sand here is we do not want a 12-hour candle close below about 81,500. That's going to be our line in the sand. That would flip our sentiment to the bear side. Currently, we've been in this bullish control zone since the beginning of 2023. So from January 2023 all the way till now, we have been in a bullish control zone. Earlier this year, we did see a descending formation that brought us a breakout that brought two new all-time highs and a third all-time high from there. And then, ever since then, we've kind of been pulling back and consolidating, with currently sitting at a currently sitting at minus 28% from our all-time high. So lots of stuff going on in the space. I did want to also start today's stream by playing a clip from Paul Barron. So XRP and several other crypto-related companies earned their banking licenses. So I'm just going to go ahead and play this clip here, and we'll go ahead and talk about it after that.
All right, big news today, of course, Ripple has a banking license. Everybody's been waiting for this. It happened, and it happened during Breakpoint, which happened with new announcements. Just to dive into all of this, Ripple announced over here on the block, Ripple, Circle, and BitGo have secured their conditional approval for a banking charter. And this is what everybody's been waiting for, along with others starting to pile in on this. Fidelity Digital, Paxos also have won conditional regulatory approvals that would clear the path for these crypto firms to operate as a federally regulated bank in the United States. Let me repeat that again, guys. That is a federally regulated bank here in the U.S. Ripple will be the head of this because it is one of those outside of Paxos that has its own stablecoin. So be on the lookout. The question is now, who actually launches first? What is it going to look like? How quickly will Brad Garlinghouse and others start to announce what are next steps going forward? Over at the Solana event.
Okay, so that was a little clip from Paul Barron, just, talking about how 3 different crypto companies earned their banking licenses, their conditional banking licenses today. So I'm just going to go ahead and read an article here relating to that, and then we'll kind of jump into XRP and maybe what we can expect in the future as far as some of the technical analysis and price action. So Ripple, Circle, and BitGo secure conditional approval for U.S. banking charters. The U.S. Office of the Comptroller of Currency has granted conditional approval for national trust bank charters to Ripple, Circle, and BitGo, Fidelity Digital Assets, and Paxos. So Circle, if you don't know, is the company behind Coinbase. Marking a major step toward crypto firms becoming federally regulated banks. Circle's approval for First National Digital Currency Bank would allow it to custody its own reserves and hold crypto assets for institutions, though not taking deposits or issuing loans under this charter. Ripple's conditional approval would bring its RLUSD stablecoin under direct OCC oversight, adding federal supervision along its existing New York state regulations. The approvals reflect a more accommodating regulatory stance towards crypto banking under Trump administration, encouraging deep integration with traditional finance. Other major crypto and fintech players, including Coinbase, Stripe-owned Bridge, and Crypto.com, have also applied for federal banking charters. While conditional, the charters signal growing momentum for crypto-related firms to operate within the U.S. banking system pending final regulatory sign-off. So yeah, big news in the space today that Ripple and Circle and a few other crypto-related companies have started to push towards a more traditional banking and regulatory space. So that's all good, but we really didn't see any news-driven price appreciation from these things so far. Let's go ahead and look at XRP here, and I'll just go ahead and turn off our long-term algorithm there. So XRP on the day is still down 1%. Year to date is down 3%, and on a 1-year time scale, we are still minus 15% from where we were exactly a year ago today. So you would think there would be some news-driven catalyst in the price of the asset, driving us a bit higher. We just didn't see that today. And as we have been doing in the stream, we've been kind of speculating a potential breakout area of this descending channel. So we've been stuck in this descending channel since October 8th. So we've been, in this descending structure for about 2 months now. And we're really looking for, at some point, to break to the upside from this descending channel. Although we could continue to see bearish pressure if the overall broader markets are going to continue to be bearish as well. So I have drawn our potential breakout zone here. which we would need to see a substantial move to the upside if this was going to still be valid. Otherwise, we can continue to move these downward until we do see some sort of bullish action that could break us out of this descending channel. Now, this descending channel is within a much larger descending broadening formation. You're going to hear me talk about descending broadening formations a lot on this stream and this channel because they are one of the most prominent in at least the crypto space and the wider markets that, we have formed a nice area of consolidation. Our, descending trend line on the bottom becomes weaker and we don't revisit those levels. Then we start to see higher lows and then which we would break out of the, top side of the descending structure. So first we need to break out of this descending channel, and then that would give us a little bit more of a catalyst to think that we might break the larger structure overall. We are currently sitting well below our zone of confluence, which I have drawn on here, this purple box. It's where the price action is most interacted with, and we're firmly below that. I say anywhere below about the $2.50 region is a really good area to be accumulating XRP. So we are definitely in an accumulation area right now. Just waiting to see if we can hold these lowest lows of about $1.82 from October 10th, that big landslide move that we had. So we're just going to go ahead and sit tight until we see some more confirmation one way or another. And as you can see, our long-term accumulation algorithm for XRP has had 100% successful trades. What do I mean by 100% successful trades? Well, it just doesn't sell that much. The last time we had a selling activity occur was actually on December 2nd, 2024. So you can see it's been quite some time since we have seen any selling activity at all, just calm, cool accumulation since then. But that's what we're all about here, is participating in assets that have a bright future ahead. That's why you see me talking about, our major assets like Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Solana, and then my favorite besides those big boys to accumulate is Tron, and then gold, of course. So let's just go ahead and bounce back over here to Ethereum for the time being, because we are currently in a breakout of Ethereum's descending channel. So Ethereum has been in a descending channel since October 7th, October 8th, in which we did see that big landslide move on October 10th with the rest of the market. Ever since then, we've just been consolidating to the downside. Also very interesting that there is this descending channel that we're breaking out of currently within a wider descending broadening formation. So what could be the catalyst to bring us back up to the top descending trend line from this wider broadening formation is what we're looking at right now. So let me just go ahead and zoom in here, and we can kind of talk about the breakout that's occurring on Ethereum currently. So Ethereum started to break out of its descending channel on December 3rd, and then we saw a firm retest on December 7th, and that's when we decided to enter into this trade, was on December 7th. So we've been in this trade for a little over a week now, and we've already achieved target number 1. So we're just basically looking to come all the way up to target number 2. Once we see target number 2, we will move our stop loss up to the break-even level. Another thing with these moves that I'll be showing here on the channel is we always want to take about 50% or more of our trade off at target number 1. So within just a few days, we hit target number 1 and took about 50% of our trade off of the table there. So we've already achieved target number 1 at 33.50. Our next target on Ethereum is going to be 36.28, and our next target besides that is going to be about 3,900. So again, next two targets 3,600 and top target 3,900, in which we can see what is happening at that point. It could bring us up to, one of our other support and resistance levels here at the 4,000 area, and then that could bring us back to our previous all-time high resistance here at the 4,600 level, and then our new all-time high would be our top level of resistance at that 49.59 level. So we're going to see what happens here with Ethereum, but currently, this year what we've seen is quite the roller coaster. Early 2025, we saw a big downward move, which formed another descending broadening formation, which brought us to the breakout that occurred, about from 1700 on Ethereum, and that took us all the way up to a new all-time high. So again, when we're measuring out these moves and looking at these trades, we're always going to be wanting to take, half of our trade off at target number 1, and then you can kind of spread the rest of your trade out through the other targets. I'll show you where that's really important here if we go back to XRP, because on XRP, if I turn the algo off so it's a little cleaner to look at. So on XRP, we had a descending triangle formation that we had a breakout of earlier this year. And you can see it'd be very important to take, a good portion of your trade off the table at target number 1, because we only made it to target number 2 in this instance. Again, moving our stop loss up to break even at that point. And the reason that we move our stop loss up to break even is because of moves like October 10th, where we saw that big landslide move happen and came back down and stopped us out at break even. So we only were able to achieve 2 out of the 3 targets on this one before the market turned into a bearish stretch here. So very important to make sure to manage your risk. That's what we're all about here, is risk management, because we want to give it the room that we need to run, but we also want to take our profits. One of my favorite sayings is, no man ever went broke by taking profit. So you'll be hearing more about that in the future. Let's go ahead and go over to Solana, because Solana is currently having their conference in Abu Dhabi, or is it Abu Dhabi or Dubai? They're having one of their big Solana conferences this week. And actually, we could listen to another little clip of Paul here talking about the conference. So I'm just going to go ahead and play that while we're getting into things here. And yeah, just go ahead and take a listen.
And Ripple also got some headlines by, guess what? XRP now coming to Solana, and there's a few things you can do, included by earning yield, all sorts of activities, as well as buying stocks, RWAs, yield-bearing tokens. Prediction markets are going to be coming live. This is pretty big because we could see a lot of people starting to look at Solana as a new opportunity to put your XRP to work without the risk of bridging. And that's the big key that this announcement kind of focuses on. I know many of you guys are probably using Flare networks and things of that nature to earn yield on many of your things with Flare F assets, but this will create more of a competitive landscape for sure. I want to go to the first clip over at the Solana event. This was all about what was happening with Fire Dancer, because everybody wants to know, right? We'll take a look.
Fire Dancer. It's been hiding in plain sight, producing full blocks on mainnet in October, and nobody noticed.
It's running live, highly staked, and on mainnet. A little bit of a secret, but we'll reveal it to you. This is Fire Dancer too. People kind of think there's going to be this big bang moment with Fire Dancer where one day it's not deployed, the next day it is. And reality is like kind of nuanced.
All that news that is released over at Breakpoint, and not much action on price right now with Solana. I think they did.
Yeah, so Breakpoint is the conference that's happening right now in accordance with Solana. And I'm just going to go ahead and read a little bit about Solana's Fire Dancer here. And yeah, we'll just go ahead and talk a little bit about Solana and its technicals and where we might be seeing that go in the next few months here. Solana blockchain, known for its fast transaction speed and low fees, has reached a major milestone as Fire Dancer, a new validator client built by Jump Crypto, has gone live on the Solana mainnet. This update followed the strong ongoing demand for Solana as its price jumped 6% today, trading around $139, backed by 11.02 million in Solana ETF inflows, while BTC and ETH saw outflows. Solana launches Fire Dancer Validator on mainnet. According to Solana's announcement, Fire Dancer is now running on its mainnet following more than 100 days of controlled testing. During this phase, a limited group of validators produced over 50,000 blocks without performance issues or downtime. So very cool. Solana's getting an upgrade there and utilizing some new tools in its mainnet. So basically what we're looking at on the technical side for Solana is we are, just like XRP and Ethereum, in a descending channel formation. So descending channel is going to continue until proven otherwise. So we've kind of predicted a little bit of maybe these areas where we might see some breakout activity, especially with their conference going on right now. We might see a little bit more action or hype in Solana's price. Currently haven't seen that, and we're sitting in the zone of confluence here, which you can see has been acting as support for, the entire year of 2024 and then into 2025. It only acted as resistance really maybe one time, but for the majority of this last 2 years of price action, this zone of confluence has been the bottom level for Solana. So we are currently sitting at that. That gives us a little bit more of an indication of maybe we're at an area where we could manage our risk a little bit better and say, hey, in the past, this has been a low risk area that's driven us to, some different bullish breakouts and things like that. So you can see if I turn our algorithm off here so it's a little less crowded. Let me just go ahead and zoom out here. Yeah, so as you can see, earlier this year, we had a large and very heavily downsloping descending channel in which we had a breakout of the descending channel, and we actually hit our target on the exact day we had planned out during our trade planning. So that was a really interesting, series of events, because we do plan these things out in accordance with about how long the structures take to form and, just some experience from the past. So the structure on Solana here has taken from the 18th of September until today to form so far. And what we've done is we've just kind of added a little bit of speculation to the fact that at some point we will break out of this descending channel. It's very unlikely that we'll break out of the bottom side of the descending channel. That just, typically we'll find more support on the bottom side before making another bounce. So we're just kind of waiting to see what happens here on Solana. I would be very surprised, depending on the broader crypto market, if the broader crypto market continues to slide to the downside, as we've seen with some of the stock market today. We did have a nice slide to the downside. So, if the broader market continues to the downside, I could see us coming out of this, zone of confluence. It would be a very rare occurrence for the past 2 years of Solana's price action anyway. But if we just look at where Solana's been in the past, Solana came in 2023 all the way from the lowest lows of about $11 and $11.77. And then by the end of 2023, we were up to the $116 level. So, 2023 was a big year for Solana, which had about a 10x gain. Since then, it's been extremely volatile. And, currently year to date, it's sitting at a minus 30% deficit. So in accordance with where we started the year 2025, we've actually seen right about here. Yeah, so where we started the year 2025, we've seen about a 30% decrease in the price of Solana. 1 year from today, 1 year ago from today, we were about minus 41% from where we were a year ago. So not the strongest asset out of the top of the crypto space, but we're going to keep an eye on it. And again, it's catalysts like these descending structures that can lead to some pretty major breakouts. Also, relating to what we had talked about in previous streams, Cathie Wood, she had been saying that she thinks the bottom for this most recent bearish stint could be in because of institutional investors on Bitcoin, and because we do have the Ethereum ETF and Solana's in ETF. We have been seeing some institutional inflow. So I wouldn't be surprised if we did continue to actually play out something similar to what we're looking at here. We're not seeing that big end of year push like we saw the last 2 years in the crypto space. But we could take a look at the seasonals just for example. End of year, the last 2023 and 2024, 2023 saw a 918% increase, and 2024 saw a 73% increase. So currently we are far away from that in the 2025 year. For most cryptocurrencies have not seen the greatest year. We could just take a look at Ethereum as well on the seasonals here, with 2020 seeing a 500% increase, 2021 seeing a 400% increase, 2022 seeing a minus 68% decrease, 2023 a 90% increase, and 2024 a 41% increase. So that's a bit of a far cry. 4 out of the last 5 years finishing roughly 50 to 500% in the positive, while 2025 we're seeing year to date about minus 8% from where we started the year on Ethereum. Let's go ahead and switch over to Tron. Again, I talk about Tron because this is one of my favorite cryptocurrencies to hold and accumulate, just because it's really not had the bearish cycles that other cryptocurrencies have had. It's been, a beacon of stability in the space. And as far as this algorithm, our long-term accumulation algorithm, has been 100% successful in its life. And another interesting thing about Tron here is in its life, it has never been outside of a bullish control zone. So our long-term accumulation algorithm has never once flipped to bearish control on Tron, and therefore it's become one of our largest positions, and also one of our most profitable algorithms overall, because it just hasn't had the bearish periods like we've seen in the broader crypto space. Also, TRX is now the 8th largest cryptocurrency by market cap as of this last few weeks here. So I've been firmly accumulating Tron for a very long time, and I think that it's going to do absolutely wonderful things in the future. Also, Justin Sun just purchased a company that's now a public company, and he rebranded it, renamed it to Tron. So there is the Tron ticker symbol that has something to do with the TRX token and the Tron Foundation that Justin Sun created at when cryptocurrency really started taking off quite some time ago. So let's go ahead and talk about the main focus of today's stream. If anybody has any likes, comments, or wants us to review anything, if anybody has any indicators or strategies they'd like us to review live on stream, you can either drop it in the comments and we'll go ahead and pull it up if we have time during the stream, or you can also drop it in our Discord channels, either in our general chat or our support chat, and go ahead and drop those in there, and we will go ahead and review them live on stream. This stream is 100% sponsored by us, so in the description below you're going to see we have all of our TradingView indicators, which we're giving away completely for free while we're getting this stream off the ground. If you'd like access to our TradingView strategies, how we're able to automate our risk management like you see here, then go ahead and drop us your TradingView username in the support. We'll get back to you within about 24 hours. And we'll get you access to that and our community configurations document. So we have a document with a whole bunch of configurations that ourselves and our community have come up with, and we are looking to build the largest algorithmic trading community on the internet. So just go ahead and drop your TradingView username, and we'll make sure that you get access to all that stuff. So today's stream is all about gold breaking out. I did have one of our users point out that there could have been another descending trend line here in which we possibly could have measured the breakout from this area as well. I'm much more interested in the area we're currently at. I think it's a bit more nuanced as to confirmation that we might be having a breakout. But yeah, you could have definitely measured the breakout from this descending line as well. What we're looking at right now is a few days ago, I was saying that gold looks like it's going to break out, and we started to measure our targets here. So measuring our targets, we measured our first target being up around 4,400, and you can see we've currently started to break out, and what we're looking for here is a breakout and a retest. So this is a cryptocurrency, and we won't really see any more action on gold's price until Sunday at 6 p.m. when the markets open back up, the futures markets. But what we're looking at right now is we have seen a strong break and a confirmation close above where our descending line for our symmetrical triangle is. And what I decided to do because of this, and since we've been accumulating PAX-G for some time, what I've done is I've gone and edited our PAX-G long-term algorithm. Let's see, is this the one? Nope, that's not the right one. Here we go. So our long-term PAX-G algorithm, I had previously had it set to whenever it sends a take profit signal to exit 100% of the trade. What I've done in the past 24 hours is I've changed that because I want it to start taking profit a little bit more aggressively. So I've taken that down to about 10%, and that has given us a really nice outcome because what I had noticed here is, we were approaching a level where we might see this ATR kick off and start to launch sell signals. So let's see if that actually happened or not. If I just go ahead and bump this back up to 100, we might have seen a sell signal for that full 100% today. Again, you don't have to take these sell signals at face value. Oftentimes what I'll have is I'll have my eye on the algorithm and I only have buying enabled, right? So if I see a sell signal, that'll give me some conviction as, hey, this might be a good place to take profit if I'm looking to go back to a cash position or something like that. And you can see it did happen within the last 12 hours. We did get that sell signal at 100%. So, if you were using this algorithm at face value, it would have sold the entire position we had been building since April of 2025. If you had sold 100% here, we would have been building a position since then, and it would have sold that position right here today. But what I've done is I've taken this algorithm and I just said, you know what, I do want to sell if it's going to send sell signals, but I don't want to sell 100% of my position. So I've taken it and I let it sell 10% of the position each time that happens. So we've been accumulating PAX-G for a very, very long time, and since approximately August 31st, 2020, we've been steadily accumulating PAX-G, and before that, when I had 100% sell on here, I was looking more for areas where it might be prominent to go ahead and sell a little bit, in which last time in April, I did sell some back to cash, right, just because the algorithm told me to, but I'm not taking that necessarily at face value where we'll just sell the entire position. So I have only buying on when I'm looking at this algorithm, and then now I've turned the ability to sell on. So each time we see one of these, purple triangles is a sell signal that is getting sent to, our various exchanges that we operate on. PAX-G is really cool because it is pegged to the price of gold and it's a cryptocurrency. So you can trade this on pretty much every major cryptocurrency exchange. So it's a way to participate in gold without having to do it like in your brokerage or, in like, a metals account or something like that. So let's go ahead and look at the seasonals on gold here. So 2020, gold really didn't have any up or down movement with a minus 1.27% over the course of 2020. 2021, minus 6%. 2022, minus 0.82%. 2023 saw 11% gain. 2024 saw a 29% gain. And this year to date so far in 2025, we've seen a 63% gain on gold. So, in the last 2 years, we've seen about 100% gain in gold. And we can look at that here on the chart by saying in 2024, beginning of 2024, we were at about $2,000 an ounce. And now as it sits, we're about $4,300 an ounce. So gold's had an absolutely amazing run. And I'm at the point where I'm okay with selling some back to cash just because I'd like to add a little bit of cash to the different algorithms and bots that I have running that are more for accumulation and things like Bitcoin. And now that XRP got their banking charter application approved and they might be doing some really more traditional things in the space, I'm going to want to start accumulating XRP. I'd say this isn't really a buy the rumor, sell the news. This is more of we got good news and I want to continue to build my XRP position. So all that said and done, crypto space is looking a little bit mixed at the moment. Solana's at levels that are about 30% less than we were at the beginning of the year. Bitcoin and Ethereum haven't made any solid gains. XRP hasn't made any solid gains. The only thing that's made, a decent gain this year is Tron, which, yesterday we were sitting at about a 10% gain. Today, about 7.5% gain since the beginning of the year. So overall, crypto space a little bit flat and sideways, at least from looking at this year so far. So let's go ahead and move on to our Mag 7 here. We're not going to start on Tesla. We're going to start on Google. So Google seeing a bit of a downturn in December so far. I mean, you can't blame it because it had an absolutely astounding run the last few months here. And it's just been absolutely incredible. If we look at, on the daily chart, for example, just this run that we had since our most recent low in April 2025, we've seen an increase of, so since our most recent low in April 2025, we've seen a 115% increase since then, with pretty much just a rocket ship straight up to the level that we're at now. So definitely fully expected that we might be pulling back a little bit. We shall see how that goes. But if you're interested in participating in a little bit more like swing trade or short-term mindset during this run that we're having right here, you can see our swing trading Google algorithm has had 92.93% success rate. So if you're at all interested in getting access to these strategies, just go ahead and drop your TradingView username into our support chat in our Discord, and we will get you access to one or as many as you want of our indicators that are in the description below. Just go ahead and send your TradingView username to our support in our Discord channel. So Google, about flat and sideways and a little bit bearish since December started. But again, we might be expecting a bit of a pullback on Google. Tesla, let's go ahead and talk about Tesla because Tesla looks like it could be going into a breakout of sorts here. So let's turn the algorithm off and just look at the technical side of things here. So let's just talk about 2025. Tesla has been an absolute roller coaster in 2025. At the beginning of the year, we saw fresh all-time highs. Well, actually, at the end of last year, we saw fresh all-time highs at about 489. And then we saw a landslide move that brought us all the way down to 217. So if we look at that on the percentage loss side, we are looking at about a 55% drawdown from all-time high to where the bottom was. Then we saw a bit of a double bottom and, a very ugly looking descending triangle with a flat level of support. That descending triangle, however, when we did have our jump the creek and retest, you can see right here, let me zoom in a little bit. So you can see we got our firm break and then our retest, and that's where we were looking to enter on Tesla here, and we've been in a position since about August 22nd, August 25th area, and since then we've hit 2 of our targets on the way up to what looks like we could be breaking towards new all-time highs. And since then we've formed a descending broadening formation, and again we were speculating over the last couple of streams that we might be forming maybe a inverse head and shoulders kind of pattern, which is a bullish pattern, but it looks like we might not even make it to that, right? We might just be starting to see some sort of breakout here. You can see right here where we formed the upper side of this descending broadening formation, where we have this descending channel. We did have a little bit of a false breakout here, and that's kind of what helped us to determine where our downward sloping level of resistance was. And since then, we're kind of looking at, my personal opinion, I thought we were going to maybe reject from this level and come back down here before trying to break out again. However, we are speculating just in case we do start to break out, which it looks like we did get a candle close. So it's Friday. We got a weekly candle close and a daily candle close above our descending trend line. But really what I'd need to see in order to give me some more conviction to play this the secondary move here is a full break to the upside and then a retest back in this area right here, or maybe down a little bit further. So if we do see a breakout and then a full retest, I'll be looking to enter again on Tesla. We still have 1 target to achieve from this descending triangle that we've been participating in. We already hit target 1 and 2, so we've moved our stop loss back to break even. So we actually might even move our stop loss up maybe to take profit 1 if we do see this thing start to break out. Possibly even move it all the way up to where the stop loss of this next trade will be, just to really lock in those profits. But overall, looking to get up to this 3rd target. So if we do get up to this 3rd target, that'll achieve target number 1 from this descending formation, and possibly even target number 2. So, target number 3 from the original trade and target number 2 are pretty close to each other. So I could see this being a strong area of profit taking. So I would imagine if we do make new all-time highs, it would be roughly, from target 1 to target 2 on this new pattern that we're looking at here. And I've given all the way out until February for the 3rd target of our descending triangle breakout. So it could take a couple more months as we move into 2026 to see this fully play out. But also Tesla is very wild, and we do see these parabolic type moves every once in a while, both to the upside and to the downside. So, we're just trying to manage our risk the best we possibly can. And if we're going to set a stop loss, it's going to be right about the level of this previous swing low here. We're looking at the daily chart, so that area is right around the 436 level. So if we do decide to enter, I may give this a little bit more room and bring it down just slightly below that, just to give it a little bit of wiggle room. Also, we're playing a move within a move here, so there's a lot of room for interpretation, right? We could see a breakout, and then if the market continues bearish, like we've seen, December hasn't really had a gain in the S&P or anything like that. We haven't really seen that Santa rally that we've been used to for some time. So, just a very interesting place that we're at in the market. We're making new all-time highs on a bunch of different assets, and Tesla could be catching up with that here fairly soon. Okay, let's go on to Meta here. So let's look at our Meta algorithm before we go on here. Profit curve's pretty decent. This algorithm is definitely more of like a short-term scalp type of algorithm. So it's not going to be your longer-term accumulation style of algorithm that we have like on a bunch of different assets. This one's more of a shorter-term scalping type of algorithm. Let's go ahead and turn that off and just look at it on a technical basis though. Technical basis, you guessed it, descending broadening formation. And what are we looking for here? There's really nothing to give us any inclination that we would be having an area that gives us some conviction to actually like enter a trade at the moment. Long-term accumulation, of course, Meta has done amazing things. Had a huge run from 2023 all the way up to the most recent all-time high from February 2025. And then we saw a descending channel. So you're going to see a lot of descending broadening formations, and descending channels are really what I look for bullish type of breakout scenarios. My favorite pattern being the descending broadening formation. It just is very, very accurate. And if you have the patience to let it play out, it can be extremely lucrative. So here, not too much. We can't even really speculate where we might have a breakout. We're just too far away from this upper trend line. And we're looking at the 12-hour chart, so this is a longer time frame to be looking at, and I'm just not really seeing anything that I can really size up with any conviction as to entering like another bullish type of trade here. So Meta, we'll go ahead and move on from there. Amazon, what were we looking at here? This algorithm was having trouble earlier, trouble loading. So we'll just talk about this on the technical side for the time being. Amazon, you guessed it, descending broadening formation. Now, Amazon, unlike Meta, we are riding right along this descending trend line. So, I've put our speculative breakout zone, within this bubble that we're in right now, and retest zone possibly like right around here. So just looking for some conviction that would give us an inclination where we could manage our risk a little bit better. But you will see that even though we've speculated a stop loss right around where we have it at the 224 level, if this goes much lower, that will be our new swing low. So we're going to have to reinterpret unless we see a nice like bullish move on Monday or Tuesday next week that bring us back to this area. If we do get lower lows here, we're just going to have to move our targets down and kind of possibly remeasure some of our targets, because we'll have a new area to measure from the breakout zone, the size of the structure. So that's how we determine, target number 2 or target number 3, depending on what we're looking at. But yep, you guessed it, descending broadening formation. There's lots of these going on a lot of assets right now. And again, you can measure 3 or 4 targets from these sometimes. It just depends on how much conviction you have in a move like that, how long you want to hold a trade, all that kind of stuff. But Amazon saw pretty bad rejection today, yesterday and today from this descending trend line. So we're just going to keep an eye on it. But I would expect if we have some good news and things continue bullish as they have been, we'll get a breakout in this area somewhere and a retest, and we'll be able to measure our risk and potentially give ourselves a little bit more wiggle room, because unless we really break out on like Monday or Tuesday, maybe Wednesday next week, it's not really going to put us in this area where our stop loss is accurate. So we'll have to maybe move that down a little bit, move our targets down, and we can do that live on stream. So happy to go over that if anybody wants to leave a request for analysis in the comments. Okay, moving right along. Apple, unlike some other things we've been looking at, is in an ascending channel. And our Apple algorithm, which is really more of like a, swing trading, short-term scalping kind of algorithm here at the moment. Let's go ahead and turn that off and just look at it on a technical basis. So ascending channel is what we're in right now. We had like a little like cup, cupish rounding bottom kind of formation that's been playing into this ascending channel. Apple's been looking a little weird on the technicals. Like, you know, if I measure, like, we could have measured maybe a descending formation kind of like this, right? We had this type of descending formation earlier in the year. There we go. So that was a really nice descending breakout that we saw right here. And now we're just kind of in continuation. But at some point, I will be expecting a downward break out of this ascending channel. Ascending patterns are bearish patterns, and descending patterns are bullish patterns typically, right? So a descending pattern leading into bullish action, an ascending pattern will possibly and most likely lead into some sort of bearish action, right? So whenever this thing does start pulling back, we can start measuring our targets, right? If we are going to measure our targets, if we did want to participate to the downside, I don't really participate in too many short positions. Every once in a while in my Schwab account, I'll do a short on an asset if it looks really good. But you know, if we wanted to do some shorting on this, we could look at it like, let's measure. Yep, that's about the size of the structure. So you know, we could do something like that, and then second pattern would be from where the structure started, the size of the structure from where it started. So let's go ahead and just take this up all the way to there. That really could be probably target number 3, because that's going to be a little bit aggressive in my opinion. Yeah, so this one, if you were going to size this up, maybe something like this, which could bring us back down to the 225 level. 225, let's see if there's any other interactions there. Yeah, it was resistance once here, support here, support here. So we definitely have a level of interaction here that could make sense if we did start to break this descending channel. Do I think it would get that back down there? Maybe we could size it up, saying that, you know, this would kind of be like our second, you know, or maybe even measure like a third target in between here, second and third target. But I'd say, you know, 225 on Apple would make sense because it has had quite a bit of interaction in the past. But, you know, we're just going to go ahead and maybe give a little bit of speculation there and just see what happens if this thing starts to break to the downside. So we could give it like a 1. And then a retest here. Boop. So yeah, if we're going to break down maybe in this zone, you know, that's how we kind of start sizing up move on Apple if it does decide to start pulling back. Microsoft, my favorite of the swing trade and shorter term algorithms. Currently in accumulation mode. Microsoft's been in a bit of a downswing since November. So last selling activity we saw was, you know, around Halloween time, 29th, 30th, 31st of October. And since then just been quietly cool accumulation on Microsoft. And once we see some sort of, you know, reverse in the price action, we will see more profit taking happening. And you know, again, you don't have to take these at face value. It just gives you an idea of like, hey, this might be a good area to maybe go back to cash a little bit and reallocate to some other things that you're looking at. But overall, Microsoft has had 86.73% profitable trades and really has done well on its own just as an algorithm. Also, you can use these things to just for accumulation, right? Because you are managing your risk by giving it a mathematical set of parameters in order to do some of your longer term accumulation. So all good things there. Let's go ahead and move on to NVIDIA. So NVIDIA has been on a heck of a run since about April this year. And we saw our most recent selling activity occur, let's see, October 30th. Yep, about the same time we saw in Microsoft, that, you know, 29th, 30th, 31st, where we had that big push to the upside. What we're looking at here on NVIDIA on a technical basis is we are in a descending channel at the moment, in which you can see today we got pretty firmly rejected off of that descending trend line again with a lot of other assets that are in these kind of descending channel formations right now. So long story short, we may be looking for that breakout where I've highlighted here with these two circles, breakout and retest zone. Now that we have put in a little bit, not quite a lower low, but if we're going to size it up, we might need to move our breakout and target areas a little bit. So if we do see more downside action, we'll definitely have to resize this up, but we won't be able to know if that's going to occur until probably Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week. So if we do see further downside, we're going to kind of resize this up. We'll do it here live on stream. I'll make sure I don't touch it so you guys can see kind of how I look at going about that. As far as the algo goes, it's had 89% profitable trades, and it's done about 5 times what risk to reward as far as its drawdown to the total profit and loss off of this. Also, I like Nvidia because it is a little bit lower price as far as the share goes. So $175 is a bit more palatable for each of these entries than something like Microsoft or Tesla that are like $500 a share almost, right? So easier to accumulate with a little bit lower ticket price there. And then as you can see, this algorithm is very, very accurate at catching these peak out, these peaking moves right here. So you can see it caught a lot of exiting through on this peak, a lot of exits on this peak. And again, you don't have to take these at face value. If you're using this algorithm to accumulate, you just say, hey, in these areas, if I need to go back to cash, this is going to be the areas to do it at, right? So, talking about 2025, we had a descending formation that we had the breakout occur around May, and then we saw all 3 of our targets get hit pretty quickly there. Then we saw new all-time highs, like an absolute rocket ship to incredible, let's just look from our previous all-time high, we overshot our previous all-time high by about 37%. So Nvidia there's just no stopping this train, right? Just absolutely incredible. Since about 2020, where in 2020 it was only, $5 a share, and now it's $175 a share. So if you had been participating in this for the last 5 years, you've done extremely well, and you can use one of these risk management algorithms to basically tell you where to do your long-term purchasing, right? Or if you need to go back to cash, you can use these as kind of indications of areas where you might want to do that because you've already seen a significant gain. So all cool stuff. Another one that's just done really well is this Walmart algorithm. And Walmart algorithm is a little bit more palatable because Walmart is pretty cheap, right? It's $100 a share. So you could have participated in this pretty easily, just setting aside some capital to, participate in these swing moves on Walmart. And that's done really, really well through the last few cycles here. Besides that, it is Friday. Let's go ahead and look at just SPY here, because we are in a breakout on SPY, and I just want to talk about it a little bit and just kind of talk about where we are since we started December. So December 3, 2, 1. So December we started about 681, right about where we are now. We saw a bit of a push to the upside, and I thought we were going to achieve our first target of this descending formation breakout. Again, you're going to hear me say this a lot, but these descending formations, they are very real and they happen all the time. So descending broadening formation, we had a nice breakout, and I was expecting to hit our target, our first target today. That was not the case. We saw a pretty big rejection today. So still in this play, right? But we're just kind of waiting to see what happens, right? We're not getting that, typical rally that we get at the end of the year. We are a little bit, but not as prominent as we've seen in previous years. But yeah, so we're just kind of chilling in this move here, and good if we do come back down and get close to this trend line, I might be looking to add to this position because that'd be a much lower risk area. It'd be very close to where I have the stop loss set here. And if I do this on, like, let's go to the 12-hour chart, for example. So 12-hour chart. Yeah, so I have the stop loss. I might even readjust my stop loss a little bit to maybe something along these lines, just give ourselves a little more wiggle room. So yeah, my line in the sand, I'm going to adjust this after this stream, but 669 is going to be my line in the sand for this play. So until I see 669, I'm going to be in this. If we do come and bounce off of this trend line down here, I'll be looking to take a pretty significant add on this position because it'll be super low risk because we'll only have down to our line in the sand, which for me will be about 669. So yeah, that's one thing I wanted to talk about there. And we're going to keep this stream pretty short. Friday streams are going to be pretty short unless we get some requests or people want to talk about specific things. And it doesn't look like we have any requests. Again, this is day number 4 of streaming our algorithms until we go viral. So we're going to stream Sunday through Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern time. And yeah, I think that'll be about it for today, unless anybody has any last minute requests that they want to put in. So I'll give it another minute or so here. Also, I'm trying to keep these streams a little, relatively short because, I don't watch streams for hours and hours at a time, and these have been going for about 2 hours. I will be finishing the trades or the streams, hopefully with these futures trades. So using the futures algorithms to kind of pass some prop evaluations and things like that. So yesterday we did have a successful trade, although it wasn't on stream because it happened around like 11 p.m. or so. But we did have one unsuccessful trade. And then, as I've been talking about, the algorithm that we're using to pass these prop tests at the moment on stream here is on NQ. So we had one unsuccessful one, and then it martingaled. So we started with one contract, martingaled to 2 contracts, and we saw a successful trade there. So the session P&L on that one was, about $144, which in my actual account ended up being like $120 or something like that. I also have a trailing stop loss of 0.01% attached to each one of these, so it gives it a little opportunity to run to the downside. But if it just goes straight to our trailing stop loss, you're not taking really a hit on that, especially if you're in a position that was already finished successful. And as you can see, the profit curve here is very, very nice. It's just a very smooth all the way to the top profit curve with about 10-to-1 risk to reward. So I want to be streaming these each day and, talking about different indicators and different strategy providers as well. So this one is actually Algo Pro. You can go find them online, Algo Pro. They have awesome TradingView indicators and strategies. This is just the ones that I'm working on to pass these prop firm tests since we did start our futures trading algorithms recently. Other than that, I think that's about it for today. So again, this stream is 100% sponsored by us. You can find links to our Killer Whale Intelligence platform, which trades the top 10, 20, and 30 coins by market cap in our conservative, moderate, and aggressive AIs. You can find all of our products on Cryptohopper and the Cryptohopper marketplace. We have discount links for Traders Post, Tradify, and Apex, all in the description below. If you want access to our entire suite of TradingView indicators, like you see here on XRP, that have had 100% success in their lifetime, just go ahead and tell us which indicators or strategies you would like access to and send us a message in our Discord support, and I will make sure that you get access to those within 24 hours. Thank you, everybody. We're looking to build the largest and most successful algorithmic trading community on the internet.